Okay, so here we are with season 3, and this feels really, really weird. Reason number one why this feels really weird is just because I earlier today watched the premiere of season 5, so I'm significantly past this, which is why it was really important for me to go ahead and do this video now, because I still remember, like, a good chunk of some of these episodes, and how that, like, I think this is something I said particularly with Ghibli, is the vibes are what are super important. I really remember my vibes still on most of these episodes, so I want to go ahead and get this out while I still have them before I'm, like, halfway through season 7, I'm just way too behind. So what I decided was I am not going to watch the next episode, which is, what is it, like Castle, Sweet Castle, I think is what it's called, but it's season 5, episode 3. Not gonna go any further in the season until I'm done with season 3's tier list. I've done my tier list for season 4, and have probably made a video on the movie, because I have gone ahead and seen the movie, and boy, I've got some things to say about the movie. The other reason this is weird is all the episodes fit neatly on one row, because this is the only episode, or excuse me, the only season that only has 13 episodes. And it looks weird, it feels weird, but anyway, as always, I need to go ahead and discuss the tiers before I actually talk about the episodes. You might notice there's a couple missing. That's because, I mean, just with my vibes on the season, I don't have a bottom of the fucking barrel episode. I have a least favorite episode, but I don't even think it's bottom of the fucking barrel bad, and it's not F tier bad either, so we're just starting with the D tier. And as I like to say, to me, D and C, I call them the mid-twins. D is the more disappointing, aggressive, maybe not even aggressively, but it's the more mediocre of the two, whereas C is either, like, it's just, I'm very neutral on it. It either just doesn't do much for me, but I don't think it's that mediocre or disappointing, or the good and the bad kind of balance out to it being about a C. B means that it's something I generally respect more than I actually like. A means I do genuinely like it, I can gush about it. S means you're in contention for being my favorite. Double S is the king shit. This will be the best of the season, etc., etc. Now we start here with the Crystal Empire. And as usual, I like to just kind of put something in the start of the screen, in the center of the screen as I start to talk about it, and then we will move it up or down as need be. So the Crystal Empire. This episode, because I remember the first time I watched it. Because I remember the first time I watched The Wedding as well, and I watched it in a big group. It was, the friend that was hosting it, it was like my second time meeting him. I had to be cleared the first time. And like, he's now they're a very great friend of mine. Specifically, they were on the cruise, and I'd let them know beforehand. I was like, okay, I know your birthday was a week or so ago. You're getting a birthday hug, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then almost any time I saw them on the cruise, I just gave Jay a big old hug, because I hadn't seen them in a while, and they just smiled every time. It was great. It was lovely. Love Jay. Shout out Jay, man. But, the Crystal Empire was, you know, my same group of friends, really excited to start the 3rd season because the second one ended on such a high note. Yeah, I've seen the Canterlot Wedding since, and I'm like, every time I rewatch, I'm like, fuck, it's really stupid. There's a lot of problems, but there is some cool shit, and that first time was just... This is the opposite. Because the first time I watched the Crystal Empire, I was really underwhelmed. I thought Sombra had kind of a cool design, but he didn't have the same presence that Chrysalis did. He doesn't have a cool song. He doesn't get to talk a lot of shit. He's not, or like even the presence like Discord has, like he's not actively in your face doing shit, whether it is talking shit, whether it's being funny, whether it is having a song. He's just kind of there looming in the background. Which, the first time, I'm like, this is not doing anything for me. But on subsequent watches, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of fuck with it. I kind of like the way that Sombra is less of... He feels like he's less of a pony and just more of this force of nature. I do think that's kind of neat. There's the fact that, even rewatching it, I do think the episode's not that funny. Like, there's one joke... I guess there's a couple I can remember. There's one where Rarity's like, guys, like, I'm out of materials. I had to make a hat with, like, 3 straws and a piece of string. And then it cuts to it and a pony's just wearing... She's like, I mean, I made it work. That's kind of funny. There's this scene where Sparks and the Remain 5 are gathering to, like, talk about the Crystal Empire and the Crystal Fair and blah, blah, blah. And Fluttershy walks up to Pinkie Pie, unzips her body, and it's Pinkie Pie in disguise. Because earlier Pinkie's like, oh yeah, we gotta be, like, sneaking around and shit. She's like, my cover's blown. And then she kind of leaves the screen. Fluttershy then walks up, sees Pinkie's Fluttershy suit on the ground, and she doesn't say anything. It's kind of more in the background, but has this look of shock and terror on her face as she slowly retreats. That is the best joke in these 2 episodes. Like, I think it's really funny, but for the most part, it's not played particularly funny. Let's see. There's 3 songs, including a reprise, which I think is pretty neat because I believe it is the first time Spike sings. He doesn't get, like, a big song. It's a Twilight song, but he gets a little couple, like, echoes in there. I'm like, that's kind of neat. But, I mean, none of the songs are on the tier of the aria. Like, let's be real. Like, they're... okay, I don't hate them, I kind of like them, but they're not great. And that was just how I felt watching it the first time. Like, this is good, I think I liked it, but it doesn't have the impact that The Wedding did. But the more I thought about it, and I re-watched it a few times, I was like, wait a second. Here's what's really, really good about the Crystal Empire. Excuse me. I love its atmosphere. Yes, it isn't particularly funny. Like, there's jokes here and there. But it is because it has a more intense atmosphere from the word go. Twilight and the Remain 5, like, and Spike. Spike is very important here. Like, they get off a train, they meet up with Shining Armor, and he's like, okay, this is the situation, this is what's going on, we need... actually, no, yeah. Like, the way the episode starts is a fucking soldier, like, runs into Princess Celestia's, like, throne room and is like, hey, it has returned. You're like, okay, like, there's some shit going on, we gotta deal with this. So she calls up Twilight and them and is like, alright, Twilight, I have a test for you. It's not like a flashcards kind of test, more like can you go save this ancient kingdom that just showed up for the first time in 1,000 years, because we kind of know about it, but we know that it's been gone for a long time. We don't know why it's back, and we don't know what kind of powers it has and what dangers it can bring. Please take care of this. And then Celestia shows off dark magic. They're like, oh, that's fucking neat. Didn't know this was a thing in Friendship is Magic. Let's go. Then they get off the train. I mean, Twilight has her song and everything. Then they get off the train. Shining Armor escorts them into the Crystal Empire, which Cadence is protecting with this giant barrier that is the only thing keeping Sombra at bay. They get attacked. Shining Armor gets his horn, like, encased in... It's not even crystal. Like, it kind of looks like black onyx. I don't know if there's another color of onyx besides black. That was a little redundant. But it's, like, covered in onyx that's keeping him from using his magic. Sombra's horn gets chipped in the barrier, but the part that gets chipped falls inside the Empire and then starts making crystal, like these black crystals and shit. And you're like, oh, okay. That's a problem. There is this genuine sense of this looming threat and looming dread in an episode of Friendship is Magic. This is weird. But honestly, I think it's a good weird. I think it's kind of a nice change of pace and change in tone. You have the Crystal Ponies who are so fucking like, I love that you don't really know what King Sombra did to them. You know that he took over, they were his slaves, and then the Empire went away because I don't remember if they really went into details for that. It's like got sealed away, blah, 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 blah. And anytime they start to remember him, they just see his eyes and they shudder. And I think part of that is, he casts some kind of spell on them that they can't really remember. And when they try to remember details to share with other people, he is keeping them from doing it. But it also almost comes across as, like, we don't want to remember. Which it's not even like that's implied. I think they deadass say that. We don't want to remember him and what he did to us. That's pretty unsettling, and I really like that. The way they beat Sombra isn't total bullshit, because they talk about the Crystal Heart, like, it is the MacGuffin. This is what it looks like, this is what it does. The Crystal Ponies have to be in a good mindset to be able to use it, which is another thing I like actually keeping their moods and their spirits lifted, and having them not paying attention to the looming threat outside, or the looming crystals that are encroaching inside. I kind of like that. What really sells it to me is, unlike Chrysalis, who I thought was really cool. I mean, I still have a soft spot for her, don't get me wrong. But I thought was really cool, and the more I thought about her plan in the wedding, I was like, this is really stupid, and it only worked because she was lucky. Sombra is the opposite, where I think about it more and I'm like, this was a really well put together plan, and it kind of only failed because of bad luck. So, the Crystal Heart, this is the MacGuffin, is the only thing that can defeat him. So what does he do? Well, first thing he does is he steals it. He steals it and he puts it in his palace. Which on the one hand, sure, maybe you don't want to have the magical thing that can kill you. Also, that's another thing. They don't turn him to stone or send him blasting off like Chrysalis stuff. No, he fucking dies. Like, this dude, like, fucking shatters like that. Holy crap. This was kind of awesome. This was lit as fuck. Sorry. Anyways, he keeps it in the castle. Which, again, on the one hand, I could see as maybe you don't want to have that thing, like, right by you at all times. But on the other hand, as Twilight kind of even says, the Crystal Ponies are so terrified of him, none of them would have gone to the castle. Like, if they were trying to look for the Crystal Heart, that is the last place they would have dared go to get it. So him keeping it there is kind of a smart plan. Second, when you as Twilight kind of figures out, the current layout of the castle is not the layout Sombra had for it. To access the Sombra version of the castle, you have to, A, be able to cast magic, and when you look at the Crystal Ponies, none of them have horns. And 2, you have to know to cast dark magic, because when you start using dark magic, then it activates where, like, his, like, the basement, I guess, because there's a whole fuck ton of stairs she has to go through, which is pretty funny. There's a giant staircase that descends, and then later there's a giant staircase going up, which I'll talk about in a second. But it is like, yeah, they can't use magic, so not only did he steal the thing that could kill him, not only did he put it in a place where they wouldn't think to look, even if they did, they dead ass wouldn't be able to find it. That's pretty fucking intelligent. So then, you have to go through this long ass fucking staircase, which means whoever is after your shit is probably gonna be really physically exhausted. And at the bottom of the staircase, they find a door. if they try to just open the door's going to move away from them. So they're going to think, like, okay, I can't do that. I need magic to be able to hold the door in place. But I understand how this dungeon works. I needed to use black magic to get the castle to respond to what I needed. So clearly what I have to do is I have to use black magic on the door, and that will cause it to open, and I can do what I need to do. And Twilight does that, and the door opens. But instead of leading her to the next part of the castle, it triggers a fucking genjutsu where she just sees, like, her worst fear, which is, you failed, Celestia hates you, blah, 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 blah. And I love that. I love how part of Sombra's design, like, this feels like a really cunning DM. Here's what I'm going to do for my players. I am going to give them a puzzle. They are going to solve it. Once they solve it and they hit the next puzzle, they're going to try to use the same technique to solve it, and it's not gonna work. And, like, they're gonna think it worked, and it's gonna fuck them over and lead to a trap. Like, that is devious. But damn it, I love this guy. Twilight is not able to break out of it on her own either. It is only because Spike is with her that she is able to get through it, because someone else kind of distracts the door, or, like, snaps her out of it. Then he gets caught in the genjutsu, and she realizes what's going on. Is able to open the door using not black magic. Then there's a big-ass fucking staircase. So again, Sombra making sure that whoever is against him is physically exhausted and mentally exhausted. They get to the top of the staircase by using I just reversed gravity spell and used the fucking stairs as a slide, which admittedly is pretty ding-dang cool. Then when she gets to the top, she finds the crystal heart, and she steps, she gets close to it, which triggers an alarm spell, so Sombra immediately knows, okay, someone made it through all my traps, which leads him to activate his final trap, which is, just encasing them in crystal, which Twilight teleports out of, and it just sucks her back into it. So even if you, doesn't matter if you have magic and you can teleport, you are still getting trapped. He has trap after trap after trap. This shit is so well constructed. It only worked. Here's what I love about the way they are able to beat him. It is the magic of friendship without being Kamehameha friendship rainbow, or I can use the magic of friendship to do whatever kind of bullshit I need. It is dead ass because my friend was with me. Twilight wanted to do this by herself because she was told, this is your test. And she's like, I have to do this alone. And Spike's like, I'm going to go with you. I won't help, but I want someone to be with you. I want to be by your side. She's like, that's fine. But it was because someone was with her and someone was willing to help, and she accepted that help. She was able to get through the door, and while Twilight got trapped in the quartz trap, the crystal heart was outside of it, and Spike was able to pick it up and deliver it, and Cadence does shit, and the crystal ponies do shit, blah, 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 blah. I criticize the fact that Cadence and Shining Armor saved the day against Chrysalis, because while it is, the two-parter that introduces them, it doesn't feel satisfying, for me at least, that the main cast come up short. Especially after that phenomenal climax of them beating the shit out of the Changeling army, just to be like, nah, and then they got overwhelmed and they didn't really get to do much to save the day anyways. But here, even though it's not Twilight or anyone else in the remaining 5, it's still part of the main group. And Twilight learned an important lesson, which is that, yeah, you don't have to do everything yourself. Even if you are a princess, or are going to be a princess and a great leader, you're not alone. You have to be, it's okay to delegate. It's okay to trust people and to rely on people. And I think that's a good moral. I think Sombra's plan is like really well put together. No, it's not the funniest episode, but it fits the mood. Like, the tone fits really well for the story it tries to tell. I'm gonna be honest. Coming into this, I was gonna put it here. But talking about it, I'm like, no, I think I would. I can't put it up here. But I think I would put it up here. I think it is that good. It's not my favorite season premiere. So far, of these first 3 seasons, it's Return of Harmony. And including Season 4 and Season 5, it's probably still Return of Harmony. Cutie Map gives it a run for its money. I really, really like that 2-parter. This one's really fucking good, too, though. Too many Pinkie Pies. This one's okay. Like, I don't even want to be like, yeah, it's okay. Like, it's an A tier. It's an A tier episode. Like, I think it's funny. I think it's fun. I think there's funnier episodes. I think there's funnier Pinkie Pie episodes. Like, Mystery on the Friendship Express. Like, that episode is hysterical. I think it's great. I think it's really funny. Or, not Party of One, although Party of One is... Feeling Peaky Keen. Again, like, to me, that's just a fucking Looney Tunes episode featuring, I mean, it's, the comedy is more of Twilight being the victim of every slapstick thing imaginable, but I don't know. Maybe this isn't even an A tier episode, because, like, I mean, the way I always talk about A tier, it's like, I like it, you know, it's something I can really gush about. I don't think I really can gush about this one. I don't know. I think it's maybe more like here. Like, I think it's all right. I think it's a fun concept of Pinkie wants to be in multiple places at once because she's like, shit, this friend's doing something really cool. I want to be there for it. But this friend's doing something really cool. I want to be there for that. So she goes to the mirror pool, which is a thing. It's not really that she casts a spell, and just more if she says the invocation, makes a clone of herself that's about half as smart as she is, but then makes another clone that makes a clone that makes a clone, etc., etc., etc. So you get Pinkies. I mean, say what you will about Pinkie having a one-track mind. These other Pinkies have a one-track mind. There's a scene where one of them is like, bet you can't make a face like this! And then she turns into like a Gen 1 pony, and it's... Actually, I don't know, maybe it's more like G3-ish, but it's like the most disturbing, hilarious, disgusting thing, and I hate it, and it's great. And another one blows onto her hoof and makes fingers, and I hate it. It creeps me right the fuck out. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I think it's a pretty okay episode. I think it's a fun concept. I think it's executed fine. I don't know. It's okay. It's pretty okay. Then we get to One Bad Apple. We get to Babs. So this episode, Apple Bloom's cousin Babs Seed, a fellow blank flank from Manhattan, comes to visit for the week. And Apple Bloom is really excited to meet her cousin, who's about the same age as her, so she has a new friend, and is really excited that her cousin's a blank flank. She's like, cool, I'm not alone. Like, hey, I'm always happy to see more blank flanks. That makes me feel like less self-conscious. Hey, I've got a couple friends who are blank flanks. We have a club. Do you want to join our club? And Babs, whenever Apple Bloom or the other Crusaders, like, call attention to her flank, her tail, like, instinctively, immediately moves to cover up the spot. And you as the viewer can immediately tell she is incredibly self-conscious about this. Like, we think the Sims are very self-conscious about being blank flanks. Babs kind of blows them out of the water. And there's a point where there's going to be a local parade. I don't remember what it was for. It was like the Harvest Festival or some shit. And the Crusaders have their float, which is like a big-ass pumpkin, I think. Sorry, my brain's just now going, like, if It wasn't Sweet Apple Acres. Why was it a pumpkin instead of an apple? Okay. But it's a big-ass pumpkin. Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara just show up on their property talking shit. And my brain is also just kind of like, who the fuck let you guys in? But I don't know. Maybe Filthy Rich was there to make a business deal. And while he was there, he's like, yeah, you know, like, let the kids play together. And not knowing how much of a terror his daughter is to Apple Bloom. That's kind of what I imagine. So they start bullying the Crusaders, who are just kind of annoyed with DT and SS, who then start targeting Babs. And Babs makes the very noticeable but conscious decision to say, I am not going to be bullied. I have two options here. One, I can let Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon bully me and take it and deal with it, which is exactly what's been going on at home, and the whole reason I'm coming out here is to avoid all that shit. Or I can take the offensive. I can join them in bullying Apple Bloom and her friends, and I won't be the victim anymore. I can take some of the power. And so that's what she does. So the majority of this episode is Apple Bloom and the Crusaders getting terrorized by Babs. Complete with a song that's really catchy, and I really like it a lot. I don't know if it's my favorite song of the season. I mean, there's no song here. The songs here are fine. No song, no song, no song. We'll talk about that one. No song, no song. Okay, weird little bit. When these episodes aired, these were back to back, like not on the same day, but week to week. Actually, on the DVD in production order, it's right here, which is really weird. But I don't think there's a song in these, and then there's a lot of songs in these, but like we'll talk about those when we get to there. This actually dead ass might be my favorite song of the season. I just really think it's neat. But throughout all of this bullying and the torment, yeah, almost said Silver Spoon, that's wrong. Sweetie Belle is saying to Apple Bloom and Scootaloo, we need to tell Applejack about this. Like, your cousin came down and is living with your family. We need to tell your family what's going on, because this is not okay. She is, it's like everywhere we go, she is there. She's yelling at us. She's interfering with us. She's like splashing us with water, throwing trash on us. We are not equipped to deal with this. Applejack is. Can we just talk to her? And Apple Bloom and Scootaloo are vehemently saying no. I don't think that will fix anything. Like, it might just make it worse. But it also shows that we can't handle it on our own, which very clearly they can't. They're like, look, we're not babies. We're not snitches. That's not how we deal with things. Which, watching this episode, I was like, this is giving me Worm flashbacks. And it's to just the really unpleasant shit in Worm. And that's not fun. That's not fun. Man, this is not a pleasant episode at all. So what the Simpsons decide to do about it is, instead of going to Applejack and telling her about their problems, they decide, we're just going to bully Babs back and we're going to get revenge. Because they don't know that Babs is being bullied back home. They're just seeing that, like, look, she's a problem. She's a bitch. We got to take care of this ourselves. So they rebuild their float and make it look super nice. So nice that Babs can't help but want to take it for a ride. And specifically booby trap it. So there will be a point where it goes out of control and sends Babs falling into a mud pit. They eventually get to a point, so like, their plan starts going off without a hitch. Babs steals their shit, and they're like, she's gonna get fucked up. She's gonna get embarrassed. And Applejack's like, aw, y'all let her ride in your float. That's so sweet. I mean, I didn't want to say nothing, because I didn't want to make a situation weird or uncomfortable. But she's been getting bullied something fierce back home, and she came down here to get away from all that. And the fact that y'all are friends, and you're doing her a solid letting ride in your float, that's just real nice. And then the three girls are just the looks on their faces of, oh, that explains everything and why she's doing what she's doing. And we're about to make her feel really, really fucking bad. So they go and save her from their booby trap, which makes them fall in their trap, and they get all covered in mud. Then they go back to Sweet Apple Acres and get washed of the mud, and Babs like, I don't get it. Why did you help me? And then they're like, yeah, Applejack told us what's up, and that's just really shitty what you're going through, and we're sorry. And the fact that what we thought of as self-defense was just more bullying and perpetuating that cycle. And we think we made the wrong choice. And Applejack's saying, yeah, why didn't you just fucking come to me with a problem? It's sweet. Like, that's literally what I've been saying all episode. Come on, man. So the important lesson is learned that if you are being bullied, fucking tell somebody. Tell your parents, tell your teachers, tell the counselor. If you're an adult, tell HR, stuff like that. Like, don't just internalize it and don't fight. I don't want to say the moral is don't fight back. I think the moral is fucking tell somebody. If that doesn't work and the problem persists, then maybe you do need to defend yourself. And especially if it is just like physical violence, don't be afraid to defend yourself. But I feel like it is a very well-intentioned more of like, no, like if you were being bullied, tell somebody. And then Bab's about to go home, and they're seeing her off at the train station. Diamond, Tiara, and Silver Spoon show up and start giving the Crusaders a hard time. Right in front of Applejack. And Applejack has this look on her face, which I can best describe as, I don't care that your dad is one of our best clients. If you keep talking, I am going to punt both of you into the sun. You have 4 seconds to stop of your own volition before you don't have the option to move your mouth anymore. That is the look on her face. It's kind of awesome. But before Applejack can get involved, before the Crusaders can get involved, Babs steps up for them, stands up for them, and is just like, hey, you two shut the fuck up. You're pieces of shit. Fuck off. Which leads to, I don't know if this scene is really funny, if it's just kind of silly. It's both. Where they're like, what are you gonna do about it then, Babs? I'll tell your mothers about your bad attitudes. Which leads to Diamond, Tiara, and Silver Spoon frequently shaking their heads. And then Babs kind of lunges at them and they fall backwards and land in mud and pig slop. And that's how that ends. And it is just kind of weird, like, in hindsight, like, huh. From what I remember about the episode when the Crusaders get their cutie marks and they make peace with Diamond Tiara has a really, really bad relationship with her mom. So she really doesn't want her mom to know how much of a piece of shit she is. But also, she's so fucking awful. Like, I have no sympathy for this child. At least not at this point. Like, I don't remember the details of what was it called? I think it's Crusaders of the Lost Mark. It's something close to that, but like that episode, maybe when I rewatch it, I'll be like, okay, I can sympathize with her, but she's still a piece of shit. Or if I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't sympathize, especially after the episode in season 4 where I'm not really sure if the reason Scootaloo can't fly, because I don't remember how this gets addressed later in the show either. I don't remember if it is just because her wings are small and they haven't really grown in yet, and it's just kind of more of a metaphor for her being a late bloomer, or if it is deadass, no, this is a disability. Either way, Diamond Tiara makes fun of her for that in a season 4 episode, and I'm like, this is some irredeemable shit. Like, this just feels so bad and nasty and fucked up. I'm supposed to sympathize with her? That backstory better have some fucking hands. I better be able to throw hooves, man. I don't know about that. As for this episode, I love it. I really do. I really like the story it's trying to tell. I really love that simple moral of you need to be able to tell somebody. I feel like the idea of... I don't want to generalize. I don't want to say, like, no, every person who's a bully is a victim of something, because I don't think that's true. I think there's probably a lot who are victims of something, whether they've been victims of bullies, whether it is, like, issues at home. I also think some people are just assholes. I also think there are some people who don't see what they're doing as bullying. They're like, yeah, it's just teasing, we're having a good time. And until you tell them that you're having a problem with them or that they need to stop, they won't think that they have to. It is important to talk, and if talking to them doesn't work, it's important to talk to someone in authority. And like I said, I really like the song. It's fucking catchy as hell. Magic Duel. What am I supposed to fucking say about this episode? It is amazing. It is fan-fucking-tastic. It is so fun. It is the return of Trixie. Not Trixie, because there's still no ding-dang R rolls. That Trixie does not roll her R's until Equestria Girls. Because I watched Equestria Girls, like, that is the first time she's rolled her R's. Is this one it sticks? Did it really take this long? I mean, I know she only had 2 prior appearances, but... the hell? It feels so weird. But I love this episode. The actual, like, eponymous Magic Duel is fun. The one at the end where Twilight is just, like, tricking her and playing mind games is really fun. Just all the insane shit that Trixie is doing throughout the episode and getting more unhinged and deranged. Like, the great and powerful Trixie doesn't trust wheels. I think that's hilarious. There's a point where she summons a mouse at a trash can, a computer icon, rips off Pinkie Pie's mouth and fucking deletes it from the episode. And Pinkie does not talk for the majority of the episode. And there's a point where, like, she's fucking with the other members of the cast, and then Twilight's like, hey, Trixie, don't do that shit. So Trixie, like, reverses everything she did except give Pinkie her mouth back. And I think that's hilarious. We get a lot of Sakura. We get Twilight getting trained from Sakura. We get Fluttershy's fucking sneak suit. This episode is just a ton of fun. I think it's also the first time in the show the word alicorn is used. And I think that's neat as fuck. I don't think there's anything else for me. This is just an S tier episode. This is great. Like, to the point where I am just kind of thinking, do I move this down? Like, I like this one a lot, but, like, I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy Magic Duel. I know I was talking earlier, I was like, it's an A tier. Fuck, it's so good, it's an S tier. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy Magic Duel. This is a little more arguable. I think I want to keep it up here. This is so fucking good, though. Sleepless in Ponyville. So this is Scootaloo's first episode. And it's kind of weird to think that, yeah, it took 3 seasons for her to actually get her own episode and not just a Crusader episode. That's kind of neat, I guess. This episode, the Crusaders and their quote-unquote sisters, because Rainbow Dash and Scootaloo aren't related, but they and their sisters go camping. And there's one thing in this episode that's really funny, but it also bothers me. And it's like Rarity overpacks because it's Rarity. Of course she does. And she is not carrying her own luggage. It's Sweetie Belle that's carrying her luggage. And it's Rarity overpacking. There's a lot of shit. It's incredibly heavy. That's funny, but I'm also like, I don't know. For the element of generosity to like bring all of this shit for you, and then to have someone else, a literal child, carrying it around for you, that just feels wrong. I don't know. It bothers me. It bothers me a little bit. Our main conflict of the episode is Rainbow Dash starts telling like spooky campfire stories, because you're going camping. You gotta do that shit. You gotta be telling ghost stories. And she talks about the headless horse from Look Before You Sleep, episode 8, season 1. Shout out to Applejack and Rarity Twilight Sleepover. And the old and pony looking for the rusty horseshoe and shit. And, you know, all 3 kids are getting scared, but Apple Bloom's got her big sister, so it's okay. And Sweetie Belle's got her big sister, and it's okay. And Scootaloo's like, hey, I'm fucking terrified, but Rainbow Dash is really cool. And if she sees that I'm scared, she's probably gonna think I'm a loser, or that I'm really pathetic, and that I'm not really worth her time. But I want to be worth her time. You know, I really look up to her. Like, she's not my sister, but I want her to be. You know, I want her to be like my mentor, and if I'm not good enough, then that's not gonna happen. So I have to be good enough. And her doing everything she can to stay awake so she doesn't have nightmares. And she does have nightmares. And then Luna starts visiting her, because this is the first episode of Luna visiting the Crusaders. Which I have to make a correction. Because I know I have referenced that before. And I've said you've got like Scootaloo, Sweetie Belle, Apple Bloom, season. And then in season 6 is the Tantabus. I checked, that's wrong. The Tantabus is in season 5. I think it is halfway through season 5 is when that episode happens. But it is after all 3 Crusaders have had their Luna episodes. So I want to go ahead and clear up that mistake. But she gets visited by Luna, and she's talking about her nightmares and how she's scared of the stories. And Luna's like, okay, is that what you're actually scared of? You're scared of this olden pony looking for the rusty horseshoe. You're scared of the headless horse. No. What I am scared of is that I'm not good enough for Rainbow Dash. What really scares me is that if I'm honest with how I feel, she won't like me anymore. So she ends up opening up to Rainbow Dash about that, and Rainbow Dash is like, alright, look, here's the thing, kiddo. I was scared of those stories too. That's kind of what the fun of a ghost story is. Like, it's something to kind of scare kids and have a bit of fun, but yo, just because you're scared doesn't mean you're not cool. I think you're cool as shit. Yo, you're looking for someone to be your big sister? I'll do it. I'm happy to do it. And that's the episode. It's really good. It's really, really good, actually. I kind of do want to put it up here. I'm sorry, Crystal Empire. Maybe I do want to put the Crystal Empire up here. Oh no, I'm thinking about it. It's like, damn, S tier episodes. Yeah, this one's okay. I don't know. I guess we'll kind of leave it for now. Wonderbolt Academy. Which, fun fact, this episode was leaked. I remember that. I think I watched it like the Wednesday or Thursday before it was coming. I think I had a dentist appointment that day. It's just a thing I really specifically remember. It's like, hey, this episode's out early, and I'll watch this and then go to the dentist. I'm gonna drink some water before I talk about Wonderbolt Academy. Hold up. Oh, talking for a while. I gotta be nice and hydrated. Okay. So, Wonderbolt Academy. Rainbow Dash gets a letter saying that, like, yeah, hey, she's waiting for a letter, comes in, you've been accepted to go to the academy, blah, 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 blah. So she tells the rest of the Remain 5, see you in a week. I think it's a week. Like, see you in a week, see you soonish, bye, heads off. And the B plot of this episode, because there is a little bit of a B plot, is Pinkie going, man, Rainbow Dash is going to be gone for like a week. I hope she doesn't forget about me in that time that she's gone, because she has other cool people that she's hanging out with. And I'm very torn on that. Excuse me. Because on the one hand, we as the audience know that Pinkie's, I don't know, like her self-image, her self-worth, her Pinkie pride, if you will, shout out to season 4, is about as fragile as Rainbow Dash's. We've seen Party of One. But to that degree of, I don't know, it feels a little out of character. It feels like it's a little much. Now, I guess I'll put it like this. The idea of her saying, like, man, I haven't seen her in a few days and I just really miss her, that I can buy. But the whole, oh no, she might totally forget about me and everything, I'm like, I don't know. I think this is a bit much. But what kind of sells it is there's this scene where she's kind of doing this whole bit of, wait a second. Or she's like, I have to be here if Rainbow Dash writes us a letter. But if, like, I can't go away from this spot because if I don't get it immediately, I can't send a response immediately. And if I don't send a response immediately, Rainbow Dash won't get it as quickly as she could. And if she doesn't get it as quickly as she could, she might be distracted because she might wonder where my response is. And if I even got her letter in the first place, and then she's going to flunk out of the academy because she's distracted, and I will have crushed her dreams. And Applejack just gives the audience this look of, I'm not the only one who thinks this is fucking stupid, right? Like, what is this? And which I love. Applejack is a great straight man. Which is a problem with the movie. Because, boy, not only is Applejack criminally underused, she's basically not used at all. Like, there's this whole thing where they go to this town, which Clay and I referred to as Hollow Bastion, because when you see it in the distance, I was like, is that Hollow Bastion? And, you know, it's the wretched hive of scum and villainy, and this dude's like, yeah, you know, like, I'm a smooth talker, I'm a charmer, that's what I do, and, you know, I can be your friend, and blah, 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 blah. And as he's talking, I'm like, why are they all falling for this except Twilight? Applejack should not be falling for this. She has dealt with Flim and Flam, not once, not thrice, but twice at this point. She knows a fucking charlatan when she sees one. What? I don't want to do a whole bit on the movie, but the movie's dog shit. I think the movie is awful, which I already thought that I wanted to give it its fair shake, and I rewatched, like, it's about as bad as I thought it was. It didn't get better. But back to this. There's that weird B plot with Pinkie that's, I mean, it's fine. It's kind of weird. Our main plot, Rainbow goes to the Wonderbolt Academy, and it's a parody of Top Gun, which I've never seen, actually. I've seen scenes. I think I've liked what I've seen, but I've actually just never watched Top Gun. I should probably fix that. And this episode introduces two characters, one of which is Spitfire, which might seem like a weird thing to say because Spitfire has been in other episodes, but it completely, like, her voice is very different because it used to be, you know, I don't even know if it's the same voice. Maybe it is, and then she, like, the same voice actress, and she just does a different bit. But now her voice, and this is just the voice she has for the rest of the show, it's, like, really raspy and super scratchy, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fuck with it. But it was like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? And, like, her whole, like, the way she talks and acts is very different. And there's, of course, an argument to be made that, like, she's doing a bit. You know, she is being the drill sergeant. She is being extra hard on them because you're in the academy now. Like, it's not just cool. You can be a Wonderbolt. Now we're really going to separate the wheat from the chaff kind of shit. But, I don't know. Like, it kind of feels like that more intense personality is what she has going forward. And again, I like it because she didn't really have much personality before. I feel like we're now meeting the character for the first time. And the other that we actually are meeting for the first time is Lightning Dust. And I think Lightning Dust is criminally underused. Not in this episode, she's great. She is in one episode after this. And I think it's like season 8? Somewhere down the line. She's not in the final season, and even though she appears again, she doesn't really, like, I don't feel like she really gets closure. Like, I feel like this episode gives closure to Trixie. And then she keeps showing up as Starlight's best friend, and I love it. But if you never saw Trixie again from here, I think it'd be fine. Babs is not like a villain, but, like, Babs gets closure at the end of this episode, and then we see her again here, and it's fine. Diamond Tiara gets closure. Discord gets closure in, like, Twilight's Kingdom, and it's great. Lightning Dust just kind of shows up again, has this rivalry with Rainbow Dash over Scootaloo, loses, and from what I remember, as she's, like, getting sent blasting off again, she just yells at Rainbow Dash that they'll be rivals for life, and then never shows up again. My problem with it is Lightning Dust is not a villain in this episode. What Lightning Dust is she is just a mirror. This is Rainbow Dash if Rainbow Dash never met her friends. She's an incredible flyer. She is incredibly cocky. She loves competition. Because that is one thing I love about this episode. Rainbow Dash and Lightning Dust met, and it wasn't like, hey, you're the other best person here. You're my rival. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. And they start hating each other. They immediately just became homies. Like, yeah, you're the other really cool person here. What's up? I'm like, I fuck with that. When Lightning Dust is the lead pony in their team and Rainbow Dash is like, I'm the second in command here. Like, that's kind of shitty. I mean, if I'm the second best person in the whole academy, I mean, I shouldn't be second place to number one. I should be my own first place. I'm like the second team. Like, the fuck? But anyways, there's this little moment where Lightning Dust takes off her lead pony pin, shows it to Rainbow Dash, and puts it back on. And her, like, the look on her face is not like, see, I'm number one. I'm better than you. You're dog shit. It's just this, dude, look, this is so fucking cool. And then puts it back on. And, like, it's this little thing. But I think it's just super neat. It's really endearing. Lightning Dust's fatal flaw is, how do I want to say it? I wanted to say it's like she has no filter. That's not the case. She has no real danger sense. She can't just leave well enough alone. I have to push myself. I always have to push myself harder. Is there a way I can be faster? Is there a way I can stand out more? If I'm in a competition, how do I grind my opposition into the dust? Because I'm better than them. And I want to show how much better I am than them. And when she looks at Rainbow Dash, she's like, this is someone who's just as cool as I am and just as good as I am. This is someone who can push me, and I could push her, which will make her keep pushing me. This is great. But as she keeps doing this, she's putting herself in danger, but she's putting other people in danger as well. But she doesn't care, but she also just kind of doesn't notice. Like, I feel like genuinely, it's not that she's actively malicious. She just doesn't feel empathy. That's not a good thing, but I think it's pretty fascinating. And at first, Rainbow Dash goes up to Spitfire, and she's like, look, Lightning Dust is cool and all, but she's kind of nuts. And Spitfire's like, I don't care. She's getting results. Maybe you should be a bit more nuts. Like, the reason I made her the lead between the two of you is I can tell she pushes herself really hard. I don't think you push yourself as hard. Which is actually kind of an interesting, I don't know, almost kind of stealth moral of, like, what the moral of the episode is it's okay to push yourself, but make sure you're not, like, bringing other people down. Like, when you push yourself, don't push other people down when you do it. Which I think is fine. But there's also kind of this stealth message of, don't be complacent. Like, if you're good at something, if you have a talent, you have something that you love, always try to better yourself. Because if you don't, other people who are... Oh, sorry, real quick. I think one of the dogs is outside and is trying to be let in. Let me let her in real quick. Princess, did I hear you? I did. Go on, Double. But as I was saying, if you have something that you love and you're passionate about, keep pushing yourself. Don't push other people down, but don't be complacent with your skills. I think that's good and interesting. At the end of the episode, after Lightning Dust makes a big-ass tornado, which nearly kills the remaining 5 who showed up to go see Rainbow Dash, Rainbow goes up to Spitfire, and she's like, okay, look, Lightning Dust is fucking crazy. And if this is the kind of behavior that gets rewarded around here, I'm out. And she resigns as like, cool. I don't think I want to be a Wonderbolt anymore. If this is what it means to be a Wonderbolt. Yes, being the best and pushing yourself, dope as hell. But this reckless stupidity, this ain't it, Chief. And Spitfire goes up to her afterwards and is like, okay, hold on a second. You're right. I overlooked shit that I really shouldn't have overlooked. Lightning Dust's methods are a problem. And then she rips off Lightning Dust's her little her pin saying that you're the lead pony. And then Lightning Dust is escorted away. And it's the one thing I hate about this episode is how Lightning Dust is treated at the end. Because to me, what would have been great is if Spitfire's like, okay, you know what? You're right. This is not what should be getting rewarded around here. I'm going to have a talk with her. Rainbow Dash, I do think you should be the lead pony. But like Lightning Dust, we have some shit to talk about. We have some shit to think about. You can be Rainbow Dash's wing. Or I'm going to talk to her. So there's room for growth here. Instead, Lightning Dust gets kicked out. Now again, you can make the argument that, yeah, like she just made a giant tornado that nearly hurt or killed people. She should just be kicked out for the insanity. My problem with it is Spitfire has consistently either ignored or encouraged Lightning Dust's recklessness. I feel like if you're gonna just say like, okay, this is too far, I'm kicking her out, I feel like it has to be something she's doing on purpose. Like, she's making the tornado on purpose, yes. Lightning Dust is not saying, I actively want to hurt these people and I want to fucking kill them. Sure, you can kick her out for that. But it, again, just comes across as like, hey, I have an idea that's going to help us completely dominate this competition that we're already dominating, just so we can prove how badass we are. It goes awry. Not her intent. And after the situation gets fixed, she's like, dude, that was so fucking cool. Like, again, she's not malicious. She just lacks empathy. And instead of trying to teach her empathy or other ways, there's like, no, yeah, fuck you, you're gone. And I think it's too harsh. I really, really do. I really like her character. I love Rainbow Dash in this episode. There's a part of me that's like, I think it's here because I just don't like how Lightning Dust is done dirty at the end. But honestly, I fucking love Wonderbolt Academy. I really do. To me, it's one of Rainbow Dash's best episodes of these first few seasons. It's not her best. That, to me, comes in season 4. Ugh. Sorry to drink some water real quick. Her best episode to me comes in season 4. At least of these first 4 seasons. We'll see how it goes past that, but I fucking love this episode. Just for Sidekicks. Yeah, like I said, it aired around here. It's actually here, which is weird because these are companion episodes. Short version. The Olympics are coming up, the Equestria Games, quote unquote. And the main 6 have been invited by Cadence to go to the Crystal Empire to welcome Miss Harshwinnie, who is the ambassador for the Olympics, to see if the Crystal Empire is a good place to hold the thing. And Spike is pretty bummed that he's not invited to go when the rest of his friend group is, especially when he helped save the Crystal Empire. And I'm gonna be honest, he's 1000% right to be miffed about it. He does get invited later for the Equestria game, like ball. I'll address that later. But he's like, this is kind of shitty, but it is what it is. What he wants to do is spend his time making a cake. Specifically, he wants to put a bunch of gems in there because he's a dragon. That's what he does. That's what he likes to eat. But as he is cooking up his cake, he just keeps eating the gems before putting them in the mix, so he can't make his jewel cake, and honestly, I think it's pretty funny. Fluttershy goes up to him and is like, okay, since you're gonna be here, can you look after my pet? Can you look after Angel? I'll pay you for it. I'll pay you in a jewel. And Spike's like, huh. You know, that's not a bad idea. I can get the jewels I need for my cake by offering up my services to my friends. I'll watch your pet, etc., etc., etc. So, he does that. They all pay him. Rarity, the super generous one, gives him, the smallest jewel possible. I'm like, yeah, that's that element of generosity right there, people. Right there in spades. It is very clear that Spike is only doing this for the money. And he is actively not paying attention to the pets. And when anyone in the main 6 is like, okay, Spike, this is what my pet needs, this is what my pet needs, he is not paying attention. As the episode goes on, he slowly but surely loses his jewels because he has to pay people off to, help him with shit and blah, blah, blah. It's fine. There's really not much else to say about it. And it's like, yeah, he just starts slowly losing his gems, and he's slowly losing his sanity, and Angel's an annoying piece of shit, but they kind of make peace at the end, and Spike is left with 1 jewel, and he's about to put it in his cake mix, but he eats it before he can put it in the cake mix, so he doesn't get his jewel cake. That's the episode. It's kind of funny. It's a C-tier episode. It's just, there's not much to say about it. That's the thing, is I feel very neutral on it. I thought I was going to hate it. I remember being very negative toward it. And rewatching, it's pretty funny. It's not great, but I like it. I like it enough. It's fine. I'm just gonna move on. I'm sorry, I just don't have much to say about this ding-dang episode. Apple Family Reunion. This episode, to me, is a very... sorry. Okay, you ever have that thing happen to you when you open up your phone real quick and you just, like, want to check messages, like texts or emails or anything? Like, I just did it, so I had some notifications, was sliding away, like, dismissing a notification of something I didn't care about, and as soon as I was doing that, another notification showed up in its place, and I dismissed that new notification without getting a chance to actually see what it was. So now I'm just a little mad and confused. Like, wait, what was that? Was that important? I don't know. Anyways, Apple Family Reunion. This episode, to me, is very memorable. And part of the reason why it's so memorable is because of how unmemorable it is. Is this an episode that brings back a fan favorite character? I mean, depending on how much you like Babs, like, she shows up again, but it's not something like Magic Duel that, like, oh man, this is like a very notable character return. Is it introducing a new character for the first time? I mean, some of the, like, extended versions of the Apple family, but, I mean, none of them really left an impression. There's this one scene of, like, little baby Applejack. You're like, that's adorable. I love that, but it's not like a new character. Is it like a really fun adventure episode? You know, something like Dragon Shy? No, it's just the Apple family having their family reunion and hanging out. Is it particularly funny? Not really. Like, there's jokes, but I mean, some of them are pretty funny, but it's not really all that funny. There's a song saying about, like, our barn raising ceremony. We're gonna raise this barn, 1, 2, 3, 4, proving that Applejack, I don't know about reading and writing, but she does know her arithmetic because she knows how to count to 4. And, like, I like it. I like that it's, you know, this very upbeat, like, hootenanny kind of song, but it's, I don't know, like, there have been better songs in the show. It's not something like Winter Wrap Up or the This Day aria where you're like, damn, that song was amazing. Like, this episode is so unmemorable. And it's like, there's... Let's be honest, though. This is my favorite episode of the season. I have to be honest about how unremarkable it is for the most part. Like, I'm not lying. It's all true. But it is my favorite episode of the season. The first time I watched it was at a friend's birthday party. It was a day or two before the end of the Mayan calendar. We're like, well, the world might be over. Like, the world might fucking die, but let's watch the new episode, okay? And, you know, there's a whole group of people watching it, so everyone's talking, so I kind of didn't know what the fuck was happening. So the next day I went home, I watched it, I was like, yeah, that's the most unremarkable mid-shit. Like, based on the second time I watched it, it would have been here, maybe even here, but probably about here-ish. But the third time I watched it was, I want to say New Year's. I was at my friend's New Year's party, and I binged Panty and Stocking with a couple friends of mine. One of them being Jay, who I referenced a little bit ago. Shout out Jay. The other was my good friend Wyatt. Shout out Wyatt, too. We watched Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. It was great. And we went back to Wyatt's house, and Jay had Friendship is Magic on his computer, so we were just watching some. I don't remember if we were just like, let's binge season 3, or if, like, there were some episodes, like, someone had missed and we were catching up. I don't exactly remember, but one of the episodes was Apple Family Reunion. And there's this one scene where they're having this, like this ride through the orchard, and it goes wrong, and the barn ends up falling down, and Applejack has been doing everything she can to try to make the family reunion as good as it can possibly be. but she's missed the spirit of it, which is not just, we want to do a bunch of shit for the sake of doing shit. We just want to spend time with the family. And she kind of missed the forest for the apple trees there. And this was like her big moment event that she had planned. And it fucked everything up and left the entire reunion ruined. And Applejack's response to seeing this is her eyes start to well up with tears. And then she grabs her hat and moves it down to cover her face. Because she doesn't want anyone to see her cry. And I don't know if it's because I was like super stressed at that point when I watched it, and I resonated with Applejack there. I don't know if it's because it was New Year's and I hadn't slept in 36 hours and my sleep-deprived brain was like a real softie. I don't know if those were mutually exclusive. But I cried when I saw that the third time. And it is the first episode, not the last, but the first episode of the show to make me cry. And it will always kind of hold that special place because of that. In addition, watching it during this marathon of the show, I cried again. I did not cry when Applejack's plan for the ride through the orchard went awry. I cried during the fucking barn raising song, which is not sad in the slightest. And I was very confused until I thought about it. And I just realized I love my family and they mean the world to me. And that's what this episode is about. The moral of this episode is being a part of a family that you love and that loves you is an amazing, amazing feeling. And it is. I had a very personal and emotional heart-to-heart with my parents just the other day before watching this. And I was thinking about this afterwards. I was like, that's why I was crying watching that. It's just how much I love my parents and how much I know that love is reciprocated. They've done so much for me, and there's like so much shit I want to be able to do for them. It's great. Family doesn't have to be really entertaining, funny, adventurous, introducing new people, or anything like that. It just has to be family. I don't know. I thought I was onto something there, and then I kind of wasn't, but I love this episode. It's genuinely one of my favorites in the entire series. Also, subtle, very subtle, it is the first episode to address Applejack's parents. Because at the end of the episode, when Applejack is writing her letter, like, Dear Princess Celestia, family's amazing, and like, etc., etc., there's this, like, the last bit of the episode is a pair of shooting stars going across the sky right over the barn. And you watch it, you're like, is that supposed to be representative of her parents? And I don't remember who wrote the episode. It was like the writer of the episode or the director of the episode had come out and said, that is supposed to represent her parents, like 100%. We don't get that episode till later. And speaking of episodes that make me cry, oh boy, I'm looking forward to that. But, I think this episode is phenomenal. Despite the competition. This one, not so much. This is Spike at your service. This is the episode where Spike decides that he owes a life debt to Applejack. there is some really funny shit in this episode. You've got Applejack's terrible acting, trying to be a damsel in distress, and Rarity going, darling, that's not how you do it. This is how you be a damsel in distress. You have Spike telling Twilight that he now owes Applejack a life debt, and that he can't be Twilight's assistant anymore. And Twilight being so engrossed in what she's reading that she's like, uh-huh, okay, sure, I'll see you later, which is great. You have Applejack later going to Twilight to try to tell her, I don't want Spike to owe me a fucking life debt. Can you take your brother back? But Twilight is so engrossed that she doesn't notice Applejack. So Applejack just moves some of Twilight's shit, which triggers Twilight's neurotic reaction, which breaks her out of her stupor. Like, it's so funny. I love that. You have... Okay, I really like when they're discussing how they're gonna fuck... Ugh. Applejack saves Spike's life, so Spike is like, I now owe you a life debt. I can only be, like, free of this if I save your life. So they try to plan a situation where Applejack can get saved. And as they're coming up with this plan, Pinkie's like, I'm gonna wear this mustache. And she's really fucking happy to wear a mustache, and I think it's great. My favorite joke in the episode is... Applejack. So Applejack brings Spike over to Rarity, and he's making both of them miserable. Then Rainbow Dash flies in, and she's like, yeah, guys, I've been working on my screenplay. Well, I don't remember if it's a screenplay or it's a book. She's like, I'm working on this story, and it's about this girl, this Pegasus, who's like the best flyer, and she's so cool, and everyone likes her, and she has the best friends who think she's the awesomest person ever. And then she, wants to be a Wonderbolt, and she becomes a Wonderbolt, and the Wonderbolts think she's so cool, they make her captain on the spot. And that's my novel. And Rarity just looks at her and says, huh, where'd you come up with that idea? I don't know. It just came to me somehow. I was cracking up at that. I love that Rainbow Dash has self-insert fan fiction of her own life that she is writing. It's gold. So why is this episode down here? Because it's fucking annoying, man. The whole thing of Spike insisting on helping Applejack and making everything worse because of how bad he is at helping and how clumsy he is at helping, even though being an assistant is what he's really fucking good at. It's just out of character for Spike. The fact that the whole reason he's helping her out to this regard, he's like, it's part of my personal dragon code. That's never been brought up before in the show to this point. And again, it's not like this is the dragon code. This is just a thing that is, like, integral to being a dragon. He's just like, no, this is my thing. If someone saves my life, then I owe them a life debt. You're like, what? I don't know. Like, I feel like Spike has to be written like a complete idiot for this episode to work, which I just don't find that fun. There's a lot of funny shit in it, though. Like, I don't know. Maybe it is more up here. Because, boy, the shit that's good in this episode, like, it cracks me up. I don't know. Maybe there just is no D tier episode. Maybe that's right. I don't know. Let's do it. We're gonna call it an audible. We're gonna say this is a C tier episode. Keep calm and Flutter on. This is the triumphant return of Discord. Who Celestia says, Twilight, I need a favor. Can you and your friends make friends with him? Because, he might be really useful later. And if he's a piece of shit, just turn him back into stone. No harm, no foul. Here's the elements back. Make sure you have the elements with you. They're gonna be really, really important here in a bit. So the episode is... a lot of it is just Discord hanging out, man. Like, I described a gag of his, I think when I was talking about Return of Harmony, where he's talking about being in stone. He's like, yeah, you know, like when I'm in stone, I can still hear everything. I can still experience things. But it does make rolling my eyes kind of hard, which he takes his eyes out of his head, starts rolling them like die, throws them on the ground. The eyes roll into a pair of holes in the ground, in which are Discord's eye sockets, and then he just lifts himself off the ground. I just think it's so fucking cool to look at. You've got this scene of Applejack and Beavers yelling at each other with Fluttershy being the translator. Like, he's sorry. He says that he'll fix the dam if you apologize for calling him Vermin. Vermin? He's lucky I didn't call him a varmint. I love that. I just love how aggro Applejack gets in that scene. Beaverton, beaver teeth. Such language. I think it's funny. I think it's adorable. Fluttershy decides that I'm going to be Discord's friend. I'm going to actively try to be his friend. Because the rest of the remaining 5, they're just dicks to him. And to be fair, he's a dickhead right back. It's not that... I feel like their antagonism toward Discord is not undeserved or unwarranted, but it's also unhelpful. And Fluttershy giving him a leash and wanting to be his friend is like, look, I'm going to listen. I'm not going to threaten you. Let's talk about things. I know that he's a dickhead. I know that a lot of this janky shit going on is his fault. But just calling him out on it, accusing him, threatening him, that's not going to solve anything. That's just going to make us antagonistic toward each other again. What I want to do is treat him like a friend and sincerely hope that he sees that and wants that. And ultimately, that is what works. When she says, I'm not going to use my element on you, I promise. He's like, yes, I'm free forever. Who cares if you don't want to be my friend afterwards? I can do whatever the fuck I want, and all it will cost me is the one friend I've ever had. Huh. Well played, Fluttershy. Well played. And it is one of those, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, I really enjoyed this, but I don't know how much I buy it. Do I really buy that he's like, yeah, I'm willing to be good now because Fluttershy's friendship means, I don't know. In hindsight, knowing how genuine their friendship becomes and the fact that I think they are a canon couple by the end of the series, as weird as that is, like, okay, in hindsight, I definitely buy this. And I think Season 4 really helps with that. Because you do see the sense of Discord does really care about Fluttershy in particular. She is his friend. But he's still Discord. Especially in Twilight's Kingdom. Like, I feel like I can give this episode more of a pass than I used to. Because I've seen what they've done with it. I still liked the episode before. I still thought it was a lot of fun, but I was also like, I don't know, it maybe doesn't quite work. The pacing's maybe a little off. I still kind of feel that, but I would still give it an A. I don't think it's not an S for me. Weirdly enough, even though it's a Discord episode, Discord's a blast, I don't enjoy it nearly as much as Magic Duel or Wonderbolt Academy, and it doesn't hit me the way that these two do, or anywhere near as close as this does. But I feel like it's about here. Games Ponies Play. This is the companion piece to Just For Sidekicks, where the main 6 go to the Crystal Empire to welcome Miss Harshwinnie and try to convince her to let the Crystal Empire host the Olympics. This episode is fucking funny. It's really funny. I was laughing like almost throughout the entire episode, man. I had actually really looking back on it, Season 3 is almost not that funny of a season. Not a lot of jokes here. This one's pretty funny, but I just don't think it's the funniest. Not a funny episode. This is a fun episode. Like, I think there's some funny shit, but it is kind of more intense. Again, like, some jokes, but not as funny. Kind of the same thing. It's a very mean-spirited Chicken Little kind of humor, but there's humor in there. Not particularly funny. This one's pretty funny. This one's stupid, but it's pretty funny. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just there's like a decent balance of funny episodes. This shit made me laugh. Like, pretty consistently. I think the episode itself, like, in terms of its plot, like, it's fine. It's nothing great. I don't even remember what the moral is. It's something along the lines of, no, I don't remember what the moral is at all. I don't know, what was the moral of this episode? Like, don't owe someone a life debt. If someone says, we're square, you don't owe me shit, it means you don't owe them shit. I don't know, I'd probably give it an A. Like, I don't think it's an S tier episode. I think it's a lot of fun, though. Then we get to Magical Mystery here. We get to Twilight Sparkle's last episode as a unicorn, the last episode of Season 3, and the first full musical episode of the show. I don't know if this is a good episode or not. I really don't. The idea of Twilight becoming a princess, and the princess of friendship, because she's learned enough in her studies to justify that position, and also, you know, they kind of need another alicorn to deal with other shit, and I kind of like with this, I like what they do with Alicorn Twilight. I like the growth she has throughout the rest of the show, and the fact that they don't really seem to know what to do with her in Season 4 as a princess surprisingly really works in Season 4, especially in the premiere and finale. Like, it really brings it all together. So I don't hate the fact that Twilight becomes an alicorn after this. The idea of the rest of the Remain 5 getting their cutie marks swapped, and thus their destinies and their personalities, is a fun idea. Rainbow Dash has Fluttershy's. She has no idea how to work with animals, and there's a point where the animals tie her up, throw her in a fucking cauldron, and are like fucking chanting like they're gonna ritually sacrifice her and eat her. That's pretty fun. It's fucked, but it's pretty fun. But then Rarity gets Rainbow Dash's cutie mark, and like, oh yeah, Rainbow Dash has explained this. It's about her love of racing, and about, like, being the best, and, like, that exhilarating feel, and... No, actually, Rarity is just working with the weather, because that's what Rainbow Dash's job is, even though it's not what her cutie mark represents. I do like the joke of Rarity making weather patterns. I think that's kind of fun, but that's not what Rainbow Dash's cutie mark is. This feels wrong. Pinkie gets Applejacks, which means she has to become a farmer, which there's the one part of me that's like, so did the rest of the Apple family just like not question Pinkie Pie moving in and taking Applejack's place? Was it part of the spell that they just forgot Applejack was related to them? I don't know. I don't know how this works, and I'm kind of lost. But also in Season 4, you find out that Pinkie is related to the apples, and I don't know, I think that's kind of fun. Fluttershy takes over Pinkie's role of being the party one, the one that's like making the town happy, and she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, and I think that's pretty fun. And Applejack becomes the designer, and there's an argument that this is a misrepresentation of her cutie mark, the way that her is a misrepresentation of Dash's. Because Rarity's talent is specifically that she can find gems, and she uses the gems in the dresses. But I feel like Rarity's thing is dresses. She loves designing. The gems are part of the designs. It's something that's servicing... The gem finding is servicing the real talent, which is dressmaking and the eye for fashion. With Rainbow Dash, the weather control is just her job. The racing is what she actually loves and lives for. So I think 3 of the characters are kind of done well. Like 3.5 with Applejack. Although I think with Applejack, like, it's really funny. And then Rarity, it doesn't quite work. The songs, like, I like them. I think they're pretty good. I remember True True Friend got leaked a couple days. Like, not the whole, like, the whole song, but not the visuals. The song by itself, it didn't work for me. I was like, I don't know about this. This is, even for this show, this is some seriously saccharine shit. In context, it's really good. I think it's really effective. I blink and this episode is halfway over. And I think that is what my problem with it is. I think the pacing is terrible. For Twilight's last episode as a unicorn, such a monumental shift in the show. Something that's been talked about in this season, with them talking here about it's, you know, like, your Twilight's test, like, you're ready for the next thing, and it ends with Celestia and Luna looking at the book that Twilight ends up using to cast Star Swirl's spell, which is where all this shit happens. This feels like it should have been 2 episodes. And instead it's not. And I know that music can kind of help with pacing and, like, exposition and stuff, but it feels way too fast. It just, I don't know. I know there was a time where I was like, this is, like, the best episode of the show. It's amazing. There was a time where I was like, this is so badly paced, it ruins the episode. I'm now kind of somewhere in the middle, where I think I would probably give it a B. No, I think I'd give it an A. I like it enough, but I think this has been a 2-parter, and we could really delve into the characters with the cutie marks fucked up. Which, again, it's not that we don't get enough of that. Like, I think what we get is fun, but being able to get more of that, there's just no time to breathe. That's what the problem is. If there was enough time to breathe and really feel, like, the emotions and the despair, like, Twilight has a whole song about it, but I don't know. I feel like we get to that point so quickly and then get past it so quickly that it just doesn't work for me as a whole. Oh, no, I think I probably would put it here. Okay. I think that's it. This is my tier list for season 3. Kind of like that we have an even number of S and A tier episodes, with, of course, the Crystal Empire counting as 2. An even number of B and C, nothing below a C, and an unremarkable on the surface, but a genuinely phenomenal double S tier episode. Oh, actually, there's one thing I do want to say about this episode in particular. Going through the series with hindsight, I think this is the first episode to really start to hint at what the Crusaders' cutie marks are going to be. Because when they start their group of being the cutie mark Crusaders, it really is just like, look, I'm a blank flank, you're a blank flank, you're a blank flank. Do you want to be friends? Sure. What should we call our group? Like, let's form a club where, like, we're trying to help each other find our talents. There's something about the way this episode is written where, maybe it was in this one, because I know it was in this one too, maybe it's more here than here, when she's talking to Baz about, like, hey, why don't you join, if you don't have a cutie mark, why don't you join our club? Because that's what our club is designed for. And the way it comes across is less of, yeah, it's our thing to help each other, and, like, no, we want to help other people find their cutie marks as well. Because in Reunion, she specifically mentions that, excuse me, Babs, she's like, yeah, do you know, like, there's a couple other blank flanks at Babs' school, and that they want to become Cutie Mark Crusaders. Like, they want to join the club to help people find their cutie marks. I'm like, huh. In hindsight, this might have been foreshadowing. So, I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. But there we go. That's season 3. I'm going to go drink some more water and do some other shit. I'm not going to do my season 4 video today. Let's be real. It's going to be 2, maybe 3. But, we'll get to that soon. Maybe, hopefully, tomorrow. But, I guess I'll see you then. Quote unquote, see you. But, I don't know. Have a good day.